I, 28F, planned a family trip with my parents and my brother, 25M. Before I officially booked the Airbnb that we would all be splitting the price on, I sent each of them the listing, showing how many bedrooms, what accommodations, etc. I made sure to double check with my brother as the house is only 2 bedrooms. One room has 2 full-size beds, the other a king bed. I asked if he would mind sharing a room with me as 3 bedrooms in this area were harder to find. He said it was fine because we'd each have our own bed and asked me to book it. Once our parents signed off on it, I booked it. When we arrive, before we even have our first night's sleep, my brother declares he thinks he and I should alternate sleeping on the pull-out couch in the living room. I say I'm not going to do that. If he doesn't want to sleep in the room designated for us, that's fine. But I'm not sleeping on a pull-out on vacation when there's 2 beds. I asked why he doesn't want to share a room and why this didn't come up sooner. He said we were adults and he was too old to share a room. I asked why he didn't bring this up sooner. He said he figured I'd agree to the pull-out situation. I said he shouldn't have assumed or at least had a conversation with me. He kept insisting and I said no. If he wants to sleep out there a whole vacation, fine. But I'm not alternating when I paid for a bed. Him sleeping on the pull-out lead to several conflicts with our parents as he'd get mad if they came into the living room in the morning while he was still sleeping, but as they pointed out, it's the living room, a public space. If people wanted to hang out in the living room at night, he'd start bugging us to go into our rooms so he could sleep as early as 8 p.m. We're on vacation, we're going to stay up a little later and hang out. I always offered to let him sleep in the extra bed in the room, but he refused unless I promised that I would sleep on the pull-out that night, which I didn't do. By the end of the 7-day, 6-night trip, he was irritated with all of us over this. My parents and I feel that he's the one who put himself in this situation and that there was an alternative to him sleeping on the couch, but he chose not to. However, my brother is insisting that I should have swapped with him.
Comment 1. NTA, but also your brother is acting oddly. Why on earth lie that you're okay with it, then demand the room to yourself and then pick a living room pull-out couch as the hill to die on? Sounds like he was making everyone miserable because he didn't get his way, but neither was he gaining anything from his stupid stance. What was the point of any of this? Has he apologized? Does he seem to feel bad about it? Is he usually this entitled? Why did he think it was acceptable for you to take the couch but not him? Good on you for not giving in. Comment 2. NTA. But also your brother is acting oddly. Why on earth lie that you're okay with it, then demand the room to yourself and then pick a living room pull-out couch as the hill to die on? Sounds like he was making everyone miserable because he didn't get his way, but neither was he gaining anything from his stupid stance. What was the point of any of this? Has he apologized? Does he seem to feel bad about it? Is he usually this entitled? Why did he think it was acceptable for you to take the couch but not him? Good on you for not giving in. Comment 3. NTA. He agreed in advance to the sleeping arrangements. If he wanted to change them at the last minute, he should be the one to make the change, that is, to sleep on the couch. And he shouldn't have tried to allow his choice to make the rest of the party unhappy by insisting that they go to bed early and eat breakfast late. If he didn't like the natural results of sleeping in the living room, he could have used the second bed, as he originally agreed. So I'm 22M, my wife is 21F, we have been together since childhood, we have been dating since I was 17. Problem is she met with an accident when she was 11 and since then she couldn't walk. We are working on it, but it isn't promising at all. So we got married 8 months ago. My family and hers and our friends all joined us. My family criticized me for marrying so early and being rash. I have 2 elder brothers, they are 2 years apart, and 1 elder sister who's 4 years older than me. They attended my wedding and I thought they accepted her, but a few days ago, we had a family dinner cause. Finally my eldest sister was going to get married, everything is going good, we joked around, drank, ate, danced etc. etc. My wife was sleepy, so I took her upstairs and put her to sleep. She can't handle alcohol at all. I came downstairs and after a while, out of nowhere my sister said that it's better if my wife is not present in her wedding. I thought it was a joke so I laughed. She said she was serious. I asked her why. She simply said that she want me to be beside her and not carry my wife around. I was like, what? She's not a burden, she's family, and I told her that. She said after that, she accepts my wife, but I will end up paying too much attention my wife instead of being with her, and it's only reasonable that a brother should always be with her sister during her wedding. I just said I will always be with her, she doesn't have to worry about my wife. That's when my brothers came in. They said that I have done enough for my wife, and it's time for me to do something for my sister. They said I should have married another woman, instead of a burden. I looked at my dad and he just gave me a sign to calm down, but my mother joined as well and told me that my siblings are right. My wife shouldn't join the wedding cause I won't pay attention to my siblings and wedding and keep taking care of my wife. I finally lost my cool. After hearing all this I went sober. I said if my wife is not invited, then I'm not invited either. I said I'm leaving. As I was going upstairs, to wake my wife up and leaving, my family stopped me and said I'm being unreasonable. I said I'm not in the mood, RN. If I hear another offensive word, I'll do something we all will regret. So I just grabbed my wife and went back to home. She asked why we left. I said I got urgent work in the morning. My boss called me on short notice. She bought it, but my family keeps saying I was in the wrong for threatening them. Comment 1. Dude, you are an awesome husband, especially for someone so young. This old guy is proud of you. Your wife is your primary family. Everyone else is secondary, including your sister and mother. There is no way I'd go to the wedding now, even if they invite your wife. You know their true feelings. They are shitty. Take your wife somewhere that day and don't give a second thought to your horrible family. I would post pictures of that day with a few comments about how you got to spend the day with the only person in your life that matters to you. Comment 2. NTA. This is like saying since you love your wife now you don't love your sister anymore. It's silly. You can love them both differently. For both the love, care and attention are different. You love your wife differently than your family and your family needs to understand that. And if you married a burden, then it's yours, not theirs to complain. So burden or not, they shouldn't be complaining either ways. If this was their daughter then they wouldn't have said something so insensitive about your wife. Comment 3. I get that you are trying to protect your wife's feelings, but this will get back to her. Please explain to her what happened and that you believe your family to be toxic and that you will be going low contact with them for a while. Block everyone but your father. Call him and tell him you will not be attending the wedding and have blocked everyone except him until you and your wife get an apology from everyone involved. Let him know you consider your wife your first and only priority. If your family cannot handle that you do not need or want them, be prepared to go and stay North Carolina with everyone for an extended period of time to protect your wife. NTA. I'm 22M, a twin and I have a twin sister Ren. When Ren and I were 4 our mom died from liver cancer. She was 30. I know that would be difficult for Dad. Going from a happily married father of 2 to a widowed father of 2 with no family close enough, emotionally, for support would be a lot. But he was a better dad to my sister than to me, and that started before Mom died. It just stood out more after. My dad was an affectionate and caring father to Ren. She was his little girl and had cherished her. If she fell he would pick her up, kiss her tears and clean her cuts. He was gentle and compassionate with her. When she was upset she could sleep in bed with him. He'd snuggle with her on the couch. He'd pull her out of school sometimes and take her for father-daughter dates. When she was bullied, he was riding the school hard to deal with it, and he fought so hard for her. He went out of his way to make sure she was loved and supported. Growing up I heard the words tough and strong a lot. I heard the word man a lot and I was still so young. He never cuddled me or kissed away my tears or carried me. He never even said I love you to me. There was nothing gentle about him when it came to me. He was rougher, harsher. He expected me to be tough, to be a man, to be strong. If I had a nightmare I was sent right back to bed. When I got bullied horrifically in high school my dad didn't want to know. There were times Ren and I would both fall. We'd both be young too. And even if I was bleeding more, she was the kid he comforted. It was never me. Not if it was both of us falling, and not if it was just me. He never did father-son dates. The most interest he ever showed in me was when I could help him do guy chores, like moving stuff. I tried to approach this with him on a few different occasions, but I never got to finish. He always cut me off for one reason or another. It got to a point where I expected it if I tried. I moved in with my best friend's family after I finished high school, at home. Ren lived at home for 2 more years. Dad only called me when he wanted something. He did it again the other day and I decided this shit had to end. I told him I'm not a toy he can take out when he needs me and then discard me once I've served my purpose. I told him I'm his son, not his helper. And I brought up how he never says he misses me, or says I love you. He never ever showed me love or affection, and I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. Dad sent me an email in response. He emails better than he texts, saying I was being very harsh. He said I was never his little girl and boys are raised different. I replied I was never trying to be his little girl, but I was his little boy and he should have shown me love too. He responded again that I accused him of discarding me like a possession, which was unjustified. Comment 1. NTA, I swear some dads, some not all, have this toxic mindset of having to be loving and doting for their daughter, but will think it makes the son weak if he does the same for him. I don't get it. Like showing your child you love them isn't weak. You deserve better. Comment 2. Unfortunately, you are never going to get your dad to see your point of view. Which is absolutely valid. Stop being available for him. He calls and wants something, your response is sorry, I can't help you with that. No other explanation necessary. A man isn't afraid to show emotions, especially to their children. The old adage of raising boys to be tough is why men beat women and are bullies in general. Please get some counseling so you can heal. Start paying attention to successful men and watch how they treat not only their family but the people they work with. Comment 3. Unfortunately, you are never going to get your dad to see your point of view. Which is absolutely valid. Stop being available for him. He calls and wants something, your response is sorry, I can't help you with that. No other explanation necessary. A man isn't afraid to show emotions, especially to their children. The old adage of raising boys to be tough is why men beat women and are bullies in general. Please get some counseling so you can heal. Start paying attention to successful men and watch how they treat not only their family but the people they work with. 27F, refurbish purses, both luxury and sentimental, as a lucrative side hustle. Sometimes I'll also go to thrift stores and see if I can find purses that people have discarded and either sell them or give them as gifts. About 6 months ago, I found a black Latico leathers tote that was in great condition and decided to keep it for myself. I have a pretty maximalist aesthetic, so I make it my own by tying various scarves and beads around the handle periodically. I love this bag and I love it even more than it only cost me $8. My husband, 28 meters, and I eat dinner at my Mills house quite often, and she is the originator of the clean girl aesthetic. Everything in her house is very white and minimal. Her style is also this way and she only wears neutrals. I say this because when I first came over with my new bag, she had said how loud it was. From then on, every time we went over to her house she always made some sort of, "You still carrying that thing around everywhere?" comment. It got to the point that I just started leaving it in the car. A month ago, though, we all went out to a nicer restaurant and I brought my bag in, to which my Mill scoffed and said, "Please leave that ugly thing in the car. It's so embarrassing." This struck a nerve and we had a little tiff over it, to which it ended with her making a comment that she was going to buy me another bag so she didn't have to look at mine anymore. In the moment, I didn't take her seriously and I honestly forgot the whole comment entirely. Last week, we went over for dinner at her house when she met us at the door with a huge smile. She grabbed my arm and rushed me to the other room and told me she had something to show me. There was a Kate Spade perfect large tote in a yellow/beige color. "Put it on," she said. Don't you love it? That's when I realized that she had bought this for me, and I said, I really appreciate the gesture, but if you're going to get me a bag, it would be nice to go shopping together so that I can get something that is more my style. She told me that it was final sale, and when I told her that she should keep it for herself, she blew up and started calling me ungrateful. I told her I wasn't going to take something that I wouldn't use, let alone didn't like, and she started crying. My husband and I left, and he told me I should have just taken the bag and used it when we went out with her. For me, something expensive like that should be used by someone who really likes it, and it's obvious she bought it to project herself onto me. Comment 1. NTA. As long as your bag doesn't have something lewd or profane on it, she's out of line asking you to remove it just because she finds it ugly. It's inappropriate for her to try to project her aesthetic preferences on you. This wasn't just a poorly chosen, thoughtless gift where she was misguided but just wanted to get you something nice in good faith. This sounds more like her trying to make her specifically trying to alter your preferences to something she finds more acceptable. You shouldn't have to do that, and you were right not to take it under these circumstances. Comment 2. When it comes to gifts, isn't it the thought that counts? When the thought is, your tacky-ass bag embarrasses me, so I bought you something else that won't shame me when we're in public, I'm pretty sure you're under no obligation to graciously accept. NTA.